I'm just Chandler,
And I'm Slade.
and you're watching Craufurd TV.
So what's the use in dwelling on the past? Learn from your mistakes and then look forward fast as you can, and hope that one day you look back at the time.
I wrote all of Tired way before Only Vigilante split up. I actually recorded that whole EP about a year before, and just because of our touring schedule, I just never got around to actually releasing it. So most of that stuff is either written probably from about the ages of 21 to about the ages of 23, 24. So it's a mixture of kind of, I think I tend to write best when things aren't as great as they could be. And it was either, end of a relationship or, death of friends, and that was pretty much when I wrote most of those songs. It was definitely refreshing. I mean, I think it's the kind of music I've been listening to for a long, long time. And I think when you get kind of caught in a particular genre, it's hard to kind of expand beyond that. And, I think from probably about the age of 18, 19, it was the kind of music I was listening to in the background and could never really incorporate into what we were doing. So it was definitely refreshing. I think there's something that felt a bit easier about it, about writing just as an individual. I think when you get four people who have their own tastes and all coming into a room together, it can be quite hard to actually come up with something that everyone likes. And just being able to sit down and write a song on your own is easier in that way, but then you don't have the ideas to bounce off other people, so it's different, but yeah, refreshing, yeah.
I think that we will look at doing that in the future, but I guess when I actually recorded the harmony vocals for the EP, there was no intention whatsoever of me being anything to do with it. I was doing my job and I didn't want to do anything else, and I had kind of shut music out of my life. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I did that, carried on having a music break, but then Josh would be sitting in the living room singing his songs, and I would just potter about the house, be in the kitchen, and I would just always be singing. And then one day, it was actually here at the Craufurd Arms, Josh was like, oh, why don't you just come up on stage? But he told me like that night. And so I was a bit nervous about it, but I did it. And it was the most liberating thing in the world to actually be playing music again. And especially to be playing music that we do at home. And so it was nice to take it to the house. And I think looking forward, at the moment I've just been focused on work and trying to balance how to be a musician and still pay the rent. But looking forward, I'm learning banjo and trying to be a little bit more creative. So I think that yes, I would like to help out with the songwriting process in the future.
They still guide and hold me. I am not forsaken. I am not redeemed, not saying a sin, just sometimes struggling, a flawed but faithful human being.
I don't know, I think there's always going to be that darkness, because I think, most of the best songs come from when you're a little bit fucked up, But at the same time, I think it's easy to fall into that trap of just relying on those sort of dark, somber moments to, fuel your inspiration or whatever. And I think eventually it becomes a bit boring. So I think that there's always going to be an element of that, but I think definitely with the new stuff we want to draw on some more positive stuff, and maybe just something just so it doesn't fall back on the same formula, And I think our taste in music have probably changed quite a lot. We were coming straight out of the punk scene when I released Tired. And now, I was already listening to a lot of sort of folk and country and rootsy stuff, but I think we've discovered so much since we've immersed ourselves in it that there's definitely going to be, a lot more yeah, I just think I don't know a better way to describe than just rootsy, I guess.
Yeah, and I think I have finally come to the dream that I've wanted to do since I was a child of playing banjo, and I always thought it was a joke. You know, even when I tell people now that I'm learning banjo, they're like, ha, and I'm like, no, actually I am learning banjo. And now that I can see it's not a joke, because of what Josh said, how we're listening to so many different artists doing so many different things, I am able to go, okay, this is the banjo, and haha, it's funny when you play like dueling banjos or whatever, but there's so much you can do with it. You can make it so dark, you can make it so interesting, you can make it so exciting. And so I think adding that in, and then I'm always kind of pushing a little bit towards the, you know, country Billboard chart. And Josh is always pushing against me, and I think we like clash in the middle and we make an interesting blend.
Forgive me, Lord, I know not what I've done. You've taken away my son. Forgive me, Lord, I know not what I've done. Your pardon's no one's I love. Please don't take the ones I love. Please don't take the ones
Paper Dress Vintage, so it's like this vintage clothes shop that in the day, that's what it is, and then they clear it all away and make a sort of a folk night out of it. And yeah, that was good, that was interesting. I mean, I think we used to, you know, playing in bars, and to suddenly go to a place where there's like a seated audience and they're all attentive.
Silent,
and
absolutely deadly silent. You could hear every single note that you did,
yeah.
every single breath that you took, and it was so off-putting that I had to pretend I was somewhere else just to do it.
I think we've had a lot of that this year. You know, we both came from the punk scene. I think we've come, you know, we're getting used to that still. Like, we've played a few shows like that, the sort of theatres and stuff, and it's a totally different vibe. And, you know, there's things that I like about it, things that I don't like, but it's just...
Well, we're not used to, you finish a song and there's just a deathly silence. Normally you'd finish a song and there'd be shouting and, you know, drunks laying on the floor, and, you know, there's just none of that now. But
there is,
good.
but I mean, I think we're still kind of stuck in that in-between, which I'm happy to be stuck in, you know, this in-between. We play punk show, you know, on an average weekend we could go and play a punk show on a Friday night and then go and play like a theatre to lots of folk bands on a Saturday night, and I kind of like it. It keeps it interesting, you know. I think one thing playing in the punk scene for so long is you just get kind of sick. It gets boring, you know. You see the same bands and same style of music, and I think we're kind of lucky at the moment. We're kind of not in either, but we're kind of just lingering on the edge of a couple of different scenes. It keeps it interesting, I think.